Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Osmanthus fragrans. Osmanthus fragrans, or fragrant tea olive, as many people call it, is an upright evergreen shrub. I mean, it keeps its leaves in the wintertime. I'm actually shooting this in December. That can get quite large, almost become a small tree. I could expect this to get 20 feet in height if I let it, but it can be kept less than 10 feet in height. It will get about as wide as you want to let it get. Here, where I've got two of them very close together, you can see they're growing very vertically. And so, you know, they're growing toward the sun. And but if they had more space, it would be getting wider as well. The growth rate on this Osmanthus fragrans is typically a little slow when you put them in the ground. You won't get a lot of growth in the first year or two, but then they'll take off pretty quick. This one is probably put on 1.5 feet of growth in a single season. So beyond being a beautiful evergreen shrub that will work as a screening plant like this one does, has this added benefit of blooming in the fall and in the early spring. Probably a little heavier in the early spring. The word osma means fragrant, and anthos means flower. So literally, osmanthus means fragrant flower. And these have this incredible apricot smell. It's a very insignificant white flower that just, it can fill your entire landscape. It's amazing that this little tiny flower can be this fragrant. Fragrance I actually like. I'm not a big fragrance person, but osmanthus definitely. And I can be walking down the road and go, that's an osmanthus. I know that's an osmanthus. It's very distinguishable from other flowering plants. Hardiness is a kind of an issue on this plant because technically they're probably hardy from zone 8 down to 11, but here I am in zone 7B, and you'll see them out throughout zone 7, but they need to kind of be in protected spaces. I'm in an urban environment here in Raleigh. This is not a plant you would put out on the edge of your yard in zone 7 where the winter winds can beat it up. Sun or shade is as variable as the zones are. I think up here in zone 7, 8, maybe even into 9A, you can put this plant in a lot of sun. By the time you get down to zone 9B, 10, 11, definitely part shade is best. These big, large evergreen leaves can burn in full sun all day long. Where would we use a plant to get this kind of size to it? Well, here I am using it as a screening plant. It's a fantastic screening plant. Again, in zone 7, you probably don't want to have it in a super cold, wide open space, but everybody else can line these up like soldiers for a screening plant, or it can be limbed up into a small tree. So if you're looking for a corner element on the front of your house, that you can underplant with other plants, osmanthus is a perfect plant for that. Not a particularly picky plant about soil type, really. I have no problem planting my osmanthus in my clay soils, sandy soils, kind of doesn't matter. Small amount of compost went in with these when they were planted, and they're mulched well, and there's no weeds growing around them, and they're quite happy. Not particularly picky. Watering, this is an extremely drought tolerant plant once it's established. You'll need to water it when you put it in the ground until it is established. Once it's established, it really only needs watering during abnormally dry times. It's a plant that you probably, in an area that gets normal rainfall like mine, wouldn't need any additional rain or any additional water once it was established. But to keep it flowering its best, keep it the fullest it can be, again, if it gets dry, water it. Pruning, we're going to get these white, insignificant but fragrant flowers here in the fall and in the early spring. As soon as it finishes flowering by around mid-April, that would be the time that you can give it a haircut. And you can get after this plant pretty hard if you need to. That's the only time of year to do it, really. I would not be pruning these around late summer because you will be taking flowers off. It can be fertilized in the late winter, early spring, so sometime around the 1st of March, mid-March, with an organic fertilizer once a year, no problem. Again, keep it well mulched, keep the weeds away from it. Not really any pest problems. This plant's super, super deer resistant, as many fragrant plants are, so we don't have to worry about that. They are susceptible to some scale insects, especially if you, crowd this plant up against a foundation. They're probably more vulnerable to that kind of thing, maybe aphids as well. But I really just rarely see pests on Osmanthus fragrans. Really low maintenance, easy, drought tolerant addition to your landscape. Thanks for watching.